As COVID-19 cases continue to rise in every state, schools and workplaces across the country are trying to figure out how to keep people safe. Last night, we shared the story of how Fox News, of all places, has implemented an eternal vaccine passport system. Yes, you heard that right. Earlier this week, a federal judge upheld Indiana University's new policy mandating that all students and staff members on campus be vaccinated against COVID-19. Today, with less than 60% of New York City public healthcare workers vaccinated, Mayor Bill de Blasio of New York announced all public healthcare workers must get vaccinated or tested weekly. But will this kind of vaccine enforcement be enough to curb the rising case count? Dr. Francis Collins is a geneticist, arguably most known for his work leading the team responsible for mapping the human genome. In 2007, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President George W. Bush. In 2009, he received the National Medal of Science by President Barack Obama. And that same year, Collins became the director of the National Institutes of Health, the primary agency responsible for biomedical and public health research. He's been at the helm of that agency throughout the entire pandemic. And with the spread of the highly contagious Delta variant, he and his team at NIH are trying to make sure the public has the most up-to-date information on vaccines and breakthrough infections. And he joins me now. Dr. Collins, it's a great pleasure to have you on the program. I thought maybe we'd start with this question about mandates. I know it's a policy question, so slightly outside of the ambit of pure research, but I'm still curious to get your thoughts about what we know about whether institutions, be they private companies or the U.S. Army or the New York City police force, whether those mandates can be effective as means of boosting vaccination rates.
Well, if mandates were applied, they would definitely increase vaccination rates. People want to know, though, is there a legal basis for this? Well, go back to 1905, Jacobson versus Massachusetts. The Supreme Court said, yes, there is a legal basis. That was a case about smallpox vaccination, which then required people to undergo that in order to protect the public health, because there was a disease that was killing people. Well, we have one now that's killing people called COVID-19. So many people would say the legal basis is there. There's a wrinkle, though, Chris, that currently the vaccines that are being used are authorized by the FDA under emergency use. And ideally, they ought to be fully approved before this legal opportunity fully kicks in. You know, I run a hospital. The National Institutes of Health has the largest research hospital in the world. I would like very much to be sure that all the people who interact with immunocompromised patients are immunized against COVID-19. Right now, I can't require it because this is still emergency use, but I sure as heck am exhorting people to do that. Wow. And fortunately, since they work at NIH, they are mostly agreeing.
Okay, so you bring up an issue that is the subject of some controversy and consternation, which is the emergency use authorization. Critics have said that the lack of full authorization is one of the impediments to more vaccination for two reasons. One, in terms of the kind of legal predicate for requirements and mandates. And two, because people, if you swim in the waters of vaccine hesitancy or vaccine skepticism, they'll say, well, it's just emergency use. People at the FDA say, look, we got a process and rushing it doesn't help at all. How should we think about this?
Well, I think we should think about it that the likelihood of FDA giving full approval to Pfizer, Moderna, and J&J is extremely high. And potentially will happen in the course of the next couple of months. So this is really not a good reason for people to hold off rolling up their sleeve. This is going to almost certainly come through. But I do want to defend the FDA, who are working 24/7 on going through this. They don't want either to be in a circumstance where somebody would say, well, you didn't really look at all the details of the manufacturing and your thousands of pages of application. They've got to do their job. It's coming. But come on, folks, if this is the reason that you're still deciding not to get immunized, this is a pretty flimsy one. This is definitely the case that these vaccines have been proven in lots and lots of public data as being safe and effective already. We really don't need that full FDA approval to accept that.
Right now, we've got an outbreak happening in the country. It is primarily affecting, in terms of hospitalizations and severe illness, the unvaccinated. But we've got cases up 200% in the last 2 weeks. We've got the number of hospitalized up 49%. Deaths are up 42%. Those are growing off fairly small base rates, thankfully. You know, we keep being perpetually surprised the disease is still there. What is your assessment of this outbreak, how bad it will get, and how people should be thinking about protecting themselves, even if they're vaccinated?
Well, yeah, Chris, it's like we've been to this movie before and we didn't like the ending. Why do we think we'll like it better this time? I do think the movie won't be as bad because we do have something like 162 million people right now who are fully vaccinated in the country. That's getting close to 60%. That is going to protect them. The good news in our conversation here is if you're fully vaccinated, even with Delta variant out there, even with these numbers going up, it's not probably going to have much of an impact on you. But if you're unvaccinated, this virus is looking for you. And this is the moment, it seems, for everybody to hit their reset button if they've been hesitant about getting immunized. And look at what's happened. 99.5% of the deaths in the last few weeks from COVID-19 have been unvaccinated people. If we don't want to see that terrible tragedy and loss of life continue at this pace, then maybe it's time to get off the fence and say, okay, I heard those things about conspiracies. Let me look at that. Most of them, all of them, I can tell you, will turn out not to have a basis. This is one of the most remarkable scientific achievements that humankind has put together. Vaccines that are this safe and this effective. It's astounding, and I got to say disheartening, that still we have some 85 million Americans who are resistant to taking advantage of this gift.